What up guys, SuperMetal983 here bringing you another CD review. And this time I've got a very violent one for you to check out. If you're into your hardcore, your grindcore, your power violence, or your crust, you'll find something to love about these guys. But yeah, this is what I'm going to be reviewing for you today. Yeah, this is the debut album from the band Leeched, entitled You Took the Sun When You Left, and this is released under Prosthetic Records in 2018. Now, if you aren't too familiar with Leeched, they are a three-piece, as I say, kind of hardcore, grindcore, power violence, sort of crust sort of band, hailing from Manchester. And I've been a fan of these guys since their inception last year, when they released their debut EP, which I've showed on the channel before, but I'm going to show it again, called Nothing Will Grow From the Rotten Ground, which is this one. Obviously, as you can see, I got it signed. But yeah, I heard this last year, and I was truly blown away by it. I love the grit, the just overall pummelingness that is withheld on this little short EP. It only runs about 10 minutes in length, but in that short space of time, you're in for one wild ride, and you know you're just going to get decimated into the ground. It's scarily good. I absolutely love this thing. My favourite song has to be Bore, which is the what's it, the fourth track on there. Yeah, make sure you check out that song on this EP. It's killer as fuck. I'll leave a link in the description to their Bandcamp where you can check it out and stuff like that. But since that EP's release, they signed to Prosthetic Records and said they were going to be bringing out their debut album this year. And here, behold, we have their debut album, which is You Took the Sun When You Left. Now, I saw these guys main support for Full of Hell the other day, and when I was at the show, I saw they had early bird copies of their new album, and I was like, yeah, I have to get it right there and then, because I was really stoked. I listened to that EP literally on my way to the gig, and I was like, oh, please say they've got their debut album, and they did, and I was so excited. As soon as I got home, I ripped it onto my iTunes, and I waited until the next day because I wanted a bit of freshness in the morning just before I went to work. And I woke up, made myself a cuppa, and I thought, let's listen to this Leeched album. And my God, it well and truly set me up for that day, put me in such a positive mood. I mean, this album is truly devastating, pummeling, and all the recipes that you had on the EP, just longer, and just, I feel personally, a lot more grit, a lot more bite, and a bit more of a whack in the face, if you ask me, because this release is definitely a lot more overwhelming, shall we just say, than their EP, if you ask me. I think it's got that real sense of real hatred and pure animosity within not just the vocals, but the musicianship and the attack that is going through the guitar tone, the crushing, literally asphyxiating bass tone that is on this record. Like, one thing I've noticed with a lot of albums is obviously the bass kind of gets taken back a little bit because it needs to just wrap around the guitars a little bit and just give the guitars that little bit more boom, but still makes the guitar soar very well. Whereas that is not the case on this album. The bass tone on this is just as loud, maybe even louder than the guitar tone on this album. And quite frankly, for this sort of album, it really emanates so fucking well, if you ask me. It really gives it that overall sense of pummelingness, and literally like a 10-ton hammer just coming crashing down on you with that, just the bass tone alone. And that says something. And obviously, we'll get the guitar tone in a second, but that crunchy, just obnoxious bass tone on this record just kills you. It literally kills you before you even hear, come to terms with even the guitar riffs or the drum work or the vocals. The bass tone is just going to absolutely annihilate you, hands down. The drum work is another fine piece to this to this record. I feel like the drums just execute with sheer perfection. They're executed, and you can feel from every hit that it is filled with just anger and just sheer just grit, and just it's filled with so much power. It's not one of those like typical like just tapping the snare. This is actually walloping that snare. I don't know how the skin on the snare survived on the recording of this album, because oh my god, that snare is getting absolutely annihilated on this record. The guitar tone though is beefy as shit. It's really, it's still got that really gritty warmth to it that still gives it that crushing factor to it. But when I listen to this album, I definitely get all the elements that I was expecting when I listened to this. Obviously the hardcore, the grindcore, the power violence, the crust, I could hear it all in there. But I did hear a little bit of like straight up hardcore to a sense of like beatdown kind of influence in there. The breakdowns just hit so fucking hard on this record. I mean, my favourite song on this is Raised by, I believe it's Raised by Lead or Raised by Lead. Oh my god, the breakdown in the last section of that song, oh my god, it's something to just decimate you and just leave you just on the ground, just bloodied up and just hands down, just obliterated. There's no other way to describe that breakdown. It just, when I heard it just before I went to work, I was literally in awe just listening to it. And quite frankly, I think that in itself just adds an overall hugeness and just beefiness to the overall sound. Obviously, it's raw, it's nasty, vicious, and it's not going to lay up on here. There's a lot of noisier, more grindy parts on this album than I felt there was on the EP. Obviously, there's a lot more going for it. But I definitely feel like the noisier parts just keep it. It's weird how the noisier elements, either between songs or breaks in songs, can set it up perfectly and still create a bit of atmosphere that builds it up, and then it just hits you in the face with that, once again, that 10-ton hammer just wallops you without expectation. It's just, oh my god, you don't expect it to hit you as hard as it does, and it really does. The vocal work is another exceptional thing. They're not shouted, they are more growled. They kind of have a bit of a more death metal-esque to the tone of their overall vocals, but they're still filled with that edgy, gritty, animosity, hatred-filled, and despair that just overall just adds that more viciousness and more putridness. And that is a very good term, I think, because it does feel putridly heavy, this album. This is easily one of the heaviest things I have heard in 2018 so far. I've heard quite a few heavy releases in 2018, and obviously straight away when thinking about it, Within Destruction comes to mind, and Ingested, for example. But I think this is up there with, out of the two, I would say Within Destruction was the heaviest, but this is up there with the likes of Within Destruction. It's not obviously in the same ballpark, but when it comes to heaviness, this is where it's at with the heaviness. There's so many good songs that I like on this album. Cripple the Herd, the first track, just comes in. It just annihilates you straight off the bat, and that's what it's meant to do. The Stone and the Steel, excellent song. Guilt, which I believe the first single. I could be wrong on that. But one of the singles they released prior to the album's release. I didn't hear that song, I'm not going to lie. I didn't listen to it before I heard this album, but when it came on, I was just like, oh, that is definitely a prime track on this album. I'm trying to remember the other song. Obviously, as I said, Raised by Lead. And then the last three tracks, Hollow Point Weddings, Harrow the Pastures, and You Took the Sun When You Left. Those three songs, the perfect closing and end to this album. It obviously is relentless, but it is barbaric. But the overall atmosphere on this record definitely has a bit of a blackened kind of vibe. It really is dark. Like, the album itself, you can tell it's going to be something quite dark and very... It kind of has that bit of blackenness to it, but it's obviously, like as I said, influencing from the likes of hardcore, grindcore, power violence, crust. Not so much black metal, but it definitely feels blackened, like as you would hear on like you know, the war metal sort of stuff. That's how dark it feels to listen to this album. But it is, like as I said, it only runs roughly, if I'm not mistaken, about 36 minutes in length. I could be wrong on that, but honestly, when you listen to it, it is barbaric. It is absolutely heavy as shit, and quite frankly, it's one of my favourite albums so far this year. I've only listened to this album, 4 or 5 times now, and leading up to this review, I've listened to it non-stop, and quite frankly, I think it's incredible. I absolutely love this. It's easily in my top 10 so far this year. If you haven't heard this already, when it drops, by the time this video goes up, it'll be out. So make sure you pick up Leeched and their debut album, You Took the Sun When You Left, released under Prosthetic Records. But also, if you get a chance, check out their debut EP, Nothing Will Grow From the Rotten Ground. Check out this EP. But yeah, for this debut album, I'm going to give it a solid 9 out of 10. Vicious, and overall, just as I said in the start of the review, absolutely pummeling. It's like a 10-ton hammer. I definitely recommend, if you're a fan of Nails, you will find something to like about these guys. It is incredible stuff. So make sure you check out Leeched with their debut album. Solid 9 out of 10. Don't know what videos are coming next, but we'll see what happens in the upcoming future. But yeah, I'll see you until the next video, and remember, stay metal, and I'll see you later.